So I just finished editing a gallery that presented a lot of challenges with the use of harsh light. It's got me reflecting back to 2009. I was absolutely terrified to use harsh light at all. I had just started my career and I would avoid it at all costs. Here we are a little over 15 years later, and I'm thrilled to tell you that I'm so proud of the photographs that I'm able to produce. The processes that I developed in order to master harsh light is exactly what I'm going to teach you here in this video today. But these processes didn't just help myself overcome that confusion and frustration that so often comes with the use of harsh light. It also helped so many other photographers, just like Gina that says, I just finished the first lighting portion of the class and I had to practice right after. I was always hesitant and scared to shoot in full sun, but now I was truly inspired by your images and wanted to practice right away. Here was my results at the end of the practice, and I love that. It's so exciting to see how proud she is of her work, doing something that she was so nervous of before. And after today, you're gonna feel so inspired too. Just like Ellie, who just finished an engagement session and said she was so amazed by the photos that came out. She's so grateful for the wisdom and insight and felt so confident and excited throughout the entire shoot. She said that she's finally getting the photos that she's been dreaming of, and in fact, they're even easier to edit. These photographers went on to build thriving businesses with photographs that stood out from the crowd. And if that's something that you'd also like to do, be sure to click the link in the description where I put together a free training just for you, where I reveal my 4 secrets to building an irresistible brand so that you can finally have an inbox full of clients eager to book you at premium rates. Be sure to get this training. I cannot stress enough how much I wish I could have had something like this whenever I first began. But let's get back to this video here right now, where I'm going to teach you my exact processes so that you can master harsh light yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to head on out to the field. We're going to get some sun on the skin because you know I need it. And we're going to play with a little bit of light. Let's go. So one thing that I think is really important just to get out of the way is you don't want to shoot with sunglasses on, okay? In a minute I'm going to take these off, but you're just not going to be able to see light accurately and also the back of your camera. So go ahead and take this. We're going to take those sunglasses off here in just a moment. But I also want to note one other thing that's really important to note is right now there are a lot of clouds. This is overcast. However, the light is harsh here and there, and that is something that again, mastery is so important because you're going to need to change your settings as the cloud comes over the sun and as the sun comes out. So you want to be practicing if you can daily. You know, really mastering light is about a lot of experience, hands-on with your camera out in the sun, you know, getting it back in the editing room and then going out and trying again. So today when the sun comes out, you're going to see we do have harsh light today. It actually is kind of coming out a little bit right now. So when it's out, that's what we're going to work with, is we're going to focus with that harsh light. Another thing that I find that is an absolute make or break with harsh light is the settings. It's yes, the use of light, so that's how are you positioning your subject in relationship with the sun. You know, are we front lit, side lit, or backlit? And we're going to go through each one of those here together today. But before we get there, here's that harsh light. See, here it is. All right, so this is the kind of light I'm talking about. It can be really, really challenging to work with. So back to our conversation here. With your camera, you want to make sure that your settings are appropriate, and it will change with each positioning of the subject that you choose, whether it's backlit, side lit, or front lit. For the most part, I do keep my aperture pretty low. I do this in order to have a nice depth of field. I really want to make sure that my subject stands out from the background and there's a nice bokeh, a nice depth of field behind my subject. So in order to do that, I keep my aperture low, usually around 2.0, 2.8 is my preferred aperture setting. The next thing that you want to think about is ISO. Now, if you're in harsh light, you don't need a high ISO, meaning you don't need the camera sensor to have a high sensitivity to light. In fact, you're going to be better off with a lower sensitivity to light. And that's why I usually am shooting with my ISO around 100 when I'm out in harsh light, okay? Therefore, the main thing that I'm changing is, can you guess? Shutter speed. You got it. Shutter speed is the main thing that I'm changing. And in harsh light, I'm probably going to have a really fast shutter. What that means is that shutter is going to open and close really fast. So it's not going to let a lot of light in. Opposite of what it would do if it was a slow shutter speed, where it's really slow, it's going to stay open longer, let more light in, and close. We want it really fast because we do not want to overexpose our subject, which is another tip right here. This is epic tip. This is like, we should put like a huge stars everywhere right now. Okay, pay attention. When you're shooting in harsh light, the key here is not to overexpose. A lot of photographers want the soft and light and airy type of look in their imagery, and oftentimes will overexpose to achieve that look. When you're in harsh light especially, 9 times out of 10 you're going to want to actually underexpose just a little bit, not a lot. Okay, and we're going to go through some of that together here today. But underexposing is what actually saves all the data. It's going to preserve all the highlights and the whites. So something to consider. Now when you're backlit, if that is a really, really strong backlight and the sun is coming into the lens, certain scenarios, you may want to overexpose. But again, 9 times out of 10, underexposing is going to be the way to go, but not a lot, okay? It's just a stop, just a little bit. So let's talk about the first type of lighting scenario we can look at. That is, let's do front lit. I think front lit is like the scariest for most people. But first I have to cross under a very dangerous scenario. We have the well-known and feared electric fence. So you gotta be real careful, because if you touch it, it's over 6,000 volts of electricity. And I don't want that. Okay, let's check out, this is Big Ma right here. She is a beautiful prime specimen Brahma cow here on the Morrison Ranch, and she's going to be our subject today, okay? Right now, she is not interested though, so maybe I'll have to be the subject. Let's see if she'll work with us, shall we? All right, this is my friend, Big Ma. Oh. Excuse me. Big Ma? Could you spare 2 minutes? Come on. All right, we're going to show them how to use harsh light. Come on. All right, so I guess that's not going to work. I will be the subject today, if that's all right with you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about front light first. Take off these glasses so we can see the light. I might squint a little here and there. I think the first thing to know is, regardless of if it's front lit, back lit, or side lit, the thing you want to always think about with harsh light is color. The more light, the more color. I'm going to put a slide here, and what you want to pay attention to is the angle of reflection. If there is more light, when the sun hits the grass, which is right in front of me, what happens is, because of the amount of light, the angle of reflection is going to change significantly compared to if it was in the shade, okay? So right here, you're gonna have a lot of that green coming back onto me. So you'll have more green on me. But you likely notice that right now, at this very moment, you don't see a lot of green on me. You may see a little bit, but very, very little most likely, because I am front lit. The sun is directly on me. Therefore, the main thing that is coming towards me is the sun. And I know this may seem obvious, but watch this. As you can see right here, I am now backlit, but there is more reflected back on me. All the grass in front of me, the sun is coming from behind, and the grass, that grain is coming on me. And the main places you're gonna see it is in the shadows. So in my neck, under my eyebrows, under my cheeks. Those are common areas that I see it the most whenever I'm shooting. We have a friend who has come. You might hear him, so I think we should say hello. His name is Leonard. We call him King Piggy, and he's decided that he wants to be involved. he could have been a great subject. He should have raised his hand when I was taking roll call of who wanted to participate. But Big Ma, darn it, she seemed like the best option. All right, so back to reflectors. You can see I've got a lot more on me. When we get to backlight, I'm going to talk about a little trick I do to help prevent this scenario when I am out in a green pasture. All right, so back to front lit. So with harsh light, it's never going to be very flattering when your subject is looking directly at the camera. So when there's direct light happening, don't worry about ever telling your subject, smile at the camera. There's going to be a lot of shadows on the face that are not flattering, likely how it looks right this minute. Instead, what you want to do is recognize that you have the power to manipulate the light, to play with the position of the jaw to get a different outcome with the light that you have available. All right? One thing that I love with harsh light, direct harsh light, is to use it for full body images where there's more of a profile, and that way I'm not getting anything that's not very flattering. All right? Now, as I'm discussing this, I also want to bring into account how fun direct light that is very harsh can be to play with when you're using architecture. There's a location called Amangiri where there's a hallway, and the light that comes in, there's these strips of light shadows on the wall that just create some epic images. And so when you are using light in that way and you're working with really harsh shadows and strong contrast, again, make sure you're exposing for the highlights of the photo, where the light is touching the skin. That is going to determine whether or not you can use the image. And then what determines whether or not it actually looks good is how you are guiding the subject with their jaw and their bodies. As you can see, it's either going to look intentional and artistic and edgy, or it's going to look like a mistake. So when you're using direct light, it's really all about how you're guiding the subject to move their bodies in combination with the light and your settings. Next light scenario to talk about is backlit. Right now we are backlit, and as I shared before, with this scenario, there is sun directly behind me. We're also kind of high noon, so it's not really like directly behind me. We'll probably make another video about mastering light at sunset, because that definitely is a different subject for sure altogether. But right now we still are backlit. And one thing that I like to do in harsh light, because a lot of photographers are like, okay, Marissa, how do you even get your subject backlit when the sun is directly above you? And my trick for that is with my hand. I will put my hand out and I will move around just so, and you can see how the light changes on my hand. And here you can see, all of a sudden, there we go. This is the point in which is backlit. And you will have to guide your subject again. So for example, if you want more shade, if they dip a little bit to the right, or it might be to the left in your scenario, but for me it's to the right, you know, I'll be in more shade, whereas if I'm here, just same with my hand, if I'm straight here versus dipping. So again, your direction with your subject and you mastering the ability for your eye to be so sensitive to light is what really helps you become the master and get the photos that you're dreaming of creating. It's realizing that light is like a fingerprint. And so when you respect it as such and you are amazed by it as such, and you say, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I take control of recognizing what shifts I need to make with my subjects, with myself and my camera to get the right image. Now, one thing that I like to do when they are backlit, because right now we're gonna have a lot of reflectors. Some scenarios, you know, out on a beach, this kind of lighting right now would be perfect possibly because you have, you know, a neutral area. But when you're working with light, remember, there's always going to be color. Color is going to be your biggest challenge, and right now we're dealing with green. So if you're ever in a green field, I want to show you a quick trick that I use to get beautiful skin tones, even in harsh light. Let's come on over here. We have this beautiful tree, and we have some shade. And so anytime you have less light, you're going to have less color, okay? More light, more color, less light, less color, okay? So by standing here in this spot, I'm still backlit, we're still in harsh light, but now I am standing beneath the wonderful shade of the tree. Now, one thing that you can notice is, I'm gonna come a step forward here. I'm at the very edge of the shade right now. I am at the very, very edge. So there's still grass in front of me that has harsh light, you know, coming onto the grass. And if you pay attention to my chin and my eye right now, you can see that there's still some green happening, all right? So we're gonna cut to another shot and you're gonna see how much it's reduced. All right, now I am underneath the tree, but I am way further into the shadow. There's a good, I would say 20 to 30 feet in front of me where all the grass is completely shaded. We're still out in harsh light, but now in front of me is just the shade. This is the scenario that reduces the amount of green reflectors coming back on your subject. So if you're in a green field, look for a tree and don't put them on the edge, get them into the shade. That's gonna give you nice, even, neutral skin tones in harsh light. Now, when you're shooting backlit, this is a great opportunity to get the portraits. This is when you're gonna have the least amount of shadows when you're shooting with harsh light. You're still gonna have shadows, okay? You really are. But there again, it's gonna depend upon what is around you. What are the colors around you? You know, and side lit is one of those things that you often can use it here and there whenever you're wanting to get something that's still a little bit edgy. To me, it still classifies as front lit because you're still exposing for the harsh light. But the biggest thing I think to think about when you're doing anything side lit is if you have more than one subject. Because in that scenario, the subject, the person that is with the other person, of course, the two subjects you have, their skin is going to reflect yellow or orange back to the other person, depending on their ethnicity, of course. But generally speaking, all different skin tones generally will reflect yellow and orange back. And so that's something that I'm always mindful of, is how much is that reflecting. Also, if they're wearing a white shirt, like if it's a man wearing a white shirt, that white is going to reflect back onto her chin and her eyes and her face, and it can create a very big difference between one partner and the other in terms of coloring and the exposure, brightness and darkness of their skin tone. So pay attention to your subject's face. When it comes to harsh light, that is one of the biggest things you want to be paying attention to. What colors am I dealing with, and how can I position my subject to create a beautiful, flattering image? All right, now it's your turn to get out there, put some of this into action, and let me know in the comments if you have any follow-up questions, because I want to be here to support you. That's why this channel is here, is to see you thrive. Remember to click that link so you get your access to that free training where I give you my 4 secrets, and be sure to like and subscribe, because my goodness, we have so many more good videos like this coming your way and you don't want to miss it. Trust me. Till next time, I'll see you soon.